Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. So it's Tuesday morning and of course it's a time for another vlog. So today's vlog I would like to dedicate it and talk a little bit about different locations where I shoot my headshots. I've recently posted some images on my social media and it seems like a lot of people actually respond to them and they were interested about those places and they were like asking about like why do I shoot in those places, what's the benefit of taking clients to those sometimes bizarre places. So I've decided to do a vlog about it. I think that would be really interesting. And this is going to be pretty much for people who do not own their own studio, people who starting off or people who actually shooting headshots and they would like to try something completely different. And over the last, I would say, few years, I've been really exploring that because I'm not like to shoot in the studio, being quite honest. I found that this is something that you kind of stuck to one place, even though you can really come up with some great ideas and great stuff. But I like to kind of be on the move a little bit and then try different places and different things all the time. So let's say you don't have a studio and you have to go somewhere and you have to do your headshot session. So let's kind of discuss all those locations and places. So the first, and I would have to say this is the most convenient and popular place for those who don't have a studio, is shooting basically in your own home. I'm living in an apartment building, so my place is fairly big, so I can technically set up one room into a studio in 10 minutes and I'm ready to go. So if you have home or you have apartment, this is, I would say, one of the options which you can do. It's convenient. You can come up with some kind of cool backgrounds and do different things and then try to actually create something very interesting. The kind of disadvantage of this, if you have a family and the place is not really big, then like you don't want to have clients coming to your place where there's a bunch of kids running around and then it's like I don't know, some maybe other people living with you as well. So that might be actually tricky. But in North America, most people living in fairly big places, and some of my friends who are photographers, they dedicate it and they transition their, let's say, basement into a studio. So that's something which you can very easily do that. Plus, there's no additional costs for, if you would like to have own private studio. So that's something what you can do. The next thing, and this is actually the next idea which I always use, if you, let's say, can shoot in your place, I do a lot of photo shoots in my clients' places. And this is actually, another, I think, cool idea, because you can always ask the client, would be possible if we could shoot at your place. And I have a lot of session in my clients' houses. And, from one hand, it's kind of tricky because, you go into the place you never been before and you have to be creative. You have to come up with some ideas right away. But when you kind of get used to it and you know what you're looking for, it's really easy to find something very interesting and create interesting backdrop for your headshots. On the top of that, I have to add that what it's really, I would say, bonus for those kind of shoots, I found that those clients where I'm shooting their headshots on their homes, they feel much more comfortable. If we're shooting in their home, for whatever reason, they're more open, they feel more comfortable. Not to mention they have access to all their wardrobe. So, if they need to change or they need to adjust something or they need to do anything, they're right there. So that's something which is extremely convenient, I found. The disadvantage of this, like you have to travel to these places. And I also realized that, I think it's a different story when it comes to a guy to do those kind of headshots. But let's say if you're a female photographer and, you get invited and do a headshot for a guy in their home, that sometimes like you have to be very very careful because you don't even know where you're getting into it and stuff like that. So this is something that actually just came into my mind just right now. So that's something which you probably would have to kind of figure out. I don't know, having assistant or I don't know, meet the client before, do a little bit of research about them, so you know where you actually getting into. So the next locations which I really like is back alleys and graffitis, and kind of places where there's a lot of junk. I found those places very interesting, and you can always create something really cool. And especially like graffiti walls, this is something which I really like, and most of them they're in back alleys. And every place, whatever city you go, they always have those graffiti walls, and they have those back alleys which you can use for photo shoots. Sometimes the tricky part is, like, if you have some corporate client, you don't want to go and you don't want to take that client to some kind of I would say dodgy place where like it's not pleasant or whatever. But I've done a lot of those shoots with many different clients. The best thing is to always to ask them, like, would you be comfortable to shoot in that location? If they say no, then like, you got to come up with something different. But I never had a situation that people like said, okay, I don't want to go there or stuff like that. I think also when you show them your own work and they really pleased with it, then they trust you. They actually just put themselves into your hands and like do whatever you whatever you want to do, go to whatever place you want to go. And then it's definitely much easier to create those interesting shots. Another place is definitely parks, which I'm not big fan of them. Usually, I don't know. I don't really like the one thing what I have to say about parks. You get that kind of green tint on people's faces. Plus, there's always tons of people, and I don't know. I'm trying to avoid parks as much as I can. I know you can create stunning headshots in park. There's no question about it. But I found like it's not the place what I like. Especially I found that you have to first of all find a place where it's fairly calm. There's not too many people. You not get disturbed by some, I don't know, people passing by and stuff like that. Also, being quite honest, in Calgary, like, we don't have many like those really typical parks. It's something which is kind of like, I don't know, difficult to explain, but this is the kind of the way of our city is kind of, I don't know, constructed, and this is something which I'm trying to, as I said, avoid as much as possible. Another place which I really like parking lots, and this is maybe sounds bizarre, but we have tons of them in Calgary. Most of them, they kind of like indoor parking, so you can actually get in and set up your stuff. There's always crazy lights, kind of in those places, so you can create really interesting patterns, and you can actually create some very interesting looks to your shots. Again, some clients might feel comfortable going to those places. Some might say, okay, this is kind of crazy, but I found those locations are amazing, especially those ones where like, let's say in our downtown area, there's a lot of parking lots which have, like, I don't know, 10 20 to 15 stories, and then you can actually shoot with the view for the downtown and stuff like that. Most of the time, especially, let's say, when you do photo shoots during the weekend, they all empty, cost you literally like nothing to get it in, and you can set it up pretty much anywhere, and you have a lot of room, a lot of place to kind of play around, and you can create stunning images. Another place which I also really like kind of any tunnels, bridges which have kind of like interesting structures and interesting patterns. Those places, they completely free. You don't have to pay to be there. But the one thing which you would have to look after is the time when you're shooting, so there's not too many people there. I've done some shoots where there's tons of people, and we were just disturbed all the time, and it was kind of like nightmare a little bit. But there's another shoot which I've done in the evening, and was like amazing. Not only the experience, but the shots turned out to really great. So that's something what you can also kind of look for. And if you, whatever city you're living in, there's always some interesting kind of places which you can actually look and find and then use them as a kind of background and location for your headshot session. Okay, so the next places what I would like to actually discuss is restaurants. I don't know you guys try this, but I've done a lot of shoots in restaurants, and pretty much you have to just contact them. If they're gonna say no, pretty much you can say thank you very much, I appreciated your response, and then move on. But I found that lot of restaurants, they don't have problems with that. You have to just pick the time where they pretty much dead, or let's say they close on Monday and they still work there whatever reason, and they allow you to get it in. And in a lot of restaurants, they have very interesting patterns, they have very interesting interior designs which you can use as a background. And sometimes what I do, I actually have some great relationships with some of those owners, and in exchange I do some food photography for them. And like, they allow me to shoot in their places, I do a little bit of work for them, and everyone is happy, my clients are happy, the owners are happy, and you have access to some really really interesting places. The next place which I would recommend to try it out, this is much more difficult to do, but this is the place where I also do a lot of shoots. And I'm talking about art galleries. We have tons of them in Calgary, and the same thing. I'm just trying to contact the owner and see, look, what would you be okay if I could just come in and I have this headshot session, and like, I would like to come in, and would you be able to kind of like help me and allow me to shoot in your place? And there's a bunch of places which said no, but there is some many places which said yes. And I've done a lot of shoots in art galleries. On the top of that, what I have to say that they sometimes allow me to use their art as a background, and they never had it, like most of them never had issues with that. They always contact the artist, whatever, and it seems like this kind of like artistic community, they always kind of trying to help each other. So I found no problem with that, and I've created some stunning shots in art galleries. And then I have to say, have kind of free access to do my shoots. Plus those places also kind of change the art. So wherever you go, there's something different, something really unique, and something really cool, and something which you can use to create some amazing shots. So that would be another option. And the last one what I would like to discuss is hotels and motels. Like, I also have some great relationship with some hotels in Calgary, and they're just so big that they always have some kind of spare room or some place which they allow me to shoot for free. And this is kind of also the same. I do some kind of exchange work for them sometimes, or I don't know, they do some social media. So like, I do the shoot, and we actually post some images and kind of giving them some content which they can use for their branding, or their stuff what they do, and always kind of work. If they, let's say, tell me like, oh, you want a room and it's gonna cost you, I don't know, $500, I'm gonna just politely say thank you, like, I can't afford it, but there's other way we could kind of collaborate, and actually I could do something for you in exchange. And most of the time, they actually, they come up with some ideas. And when you actually put your foot in and you're professional and you actually deliver something very interesting, they always kind of like help you, and they always kind of like allow you to come back and do this all over again. Of course, you don't want to take advantage and just go and shoot every single day, in those places, because of course they're going to say no at some point. But if you do this once in a while, and you can rotate those different locations, you always have access to some really cool spots. Okay, so I hope that was interesting. I hope that give you some ideas and some input on some of those locations where I shoot. If you have any other places which you guys are shooting, and you would kind of recommend them and say this is another option to add to the list, I would definitely would like to hear about them, because maybe there is something which I don't know about, and I would definitely like to hear your feedback. So wishing you guys fantastic week. I hope you have great photo shoots in the next week or so, and I will definitely will be back in a couple days with another vlog. Also, you probably have noticed there's a different background. I'm trying to kind of find a place in my home where I can actually do this much easier, and I don't have to do this all this setup and those crazy stuff. So I hope you like it. Would like to hear a feedback. I know also there are some issues with the sound, so please let me know if the sound is not right or doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Let me know, and I'll try to kind of work on this to improve that a little bit, and then keep getting better with those vlogs. So stay tuned. Wishing you guys fantastic week, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye bye.